Howdy guys, how are you? We're going to start off today with just a brief review of solving multi-step equations, and then we're going to transition into special case scenarios of equations. Let's go ahead and share our DocCam here real quick, and then we'll talk about some other kinds of equations. So the reason why I want to start off with a basic one is because it'll help transition us into today's idea. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create my barrier down the middle. And if I'm going to go through my checklist of notes, which you should be using on a daily basis right now, if you don't have those written down, go back and get them. Step one is get rid of parentheses. Well, there are no parentheses. So step two is combine like terms on each side of the equals. So on the left side, I'm going to put a 1 in front of that x. I have a 5x and a 1x. I cannot combine the 3x because it's on the other side of the equals. So I simply combine the 5x and the 1x to make 6x. Bring down the minus 2, bring down the equals. On the other side of the equals, I can put together the 9 and the 10 because they're both just numbers. And so when I combine the 9 and the 10, that becomes 19 plus 3x. So that's step two. Step three in solving multi-step equations is move the variable to one side. If you have variables on both sides, you need to move those. So I'm going to take the smaller one. I'm going to take the plus 3x, and I'm going to move it by subtracting 3x because a plus 3 and a minus 3 cancel out. Remember to maintain balance. If you do it to one side of the equals, you have to do the exact same thing to the other. So I'm going to subtract the 3x. 6x minus 3x leaves me with 3x. I'm going to bring the minus 2 straight down. I'm going to bring the equals straight down, and I'm going to bring the 19 straight down. At this point, you should recognize that is a two-step equation. Step one in a two-step equation is to undo the addition and subtraction. So I'm going to undo the minus 2 with a plus 2. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side of the equals. 19 plus 2 is 21. Bring down the equals, bring down the 3x. And the final step is always to divide by whatever number is touching x. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides, and x equals 7. So again, a review. The reason why I wanted to review this is because I want us to talk about what this is. This is what we refer to as the solution. The solution for this equation is x equals 7. That means if I plugged in 7 for that equation, everything would balance out and I would have a true statement. So this particular problem has one solution, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in there as well. One solution, and that solution is 7. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because there are going to be occasions and equations, and that's what we're going to do today, where we don't have one solution. If I look at this equation here, 2x plus 1 equals 2x minus 5. Step 1 says get rid of parentheses. Check, that's done. Step 2 says combine like terms on each side of the equals. Well, it's already done. So step 3 is where we're going to run into something that we haven't seen before. I'm going to move the variables to one side. So I'm going to move this 2x, and I'm going to do it by subtracting 2x. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'll subtract 2x here. Now, I want you to look very carefully at what happens in this particular problem before I do it. I want you to look at those two x's. 2x minus 2x cancel out. 2x minus 2x cancel out. All of the x's are gone. The variable is gone. There is nothing to solve for anymore. The only thing that is now left is positive 1 equals negative 5. Well, positive 1 equals negative 5 is a false statement. So when the variables are gone, And what I have left is something that does not match up. I don't have one solution like I had up here. I have, and we're going to write this down. This is actually what you would write down. I have no solution. There is no value for x in this particular equation because the variables canceled out and the values that were left don't match. Okay, so that's a no solution. Variables are gone and the numbers that are left don't match. You might want to write this in your notes as you're putting this down. Variable is gone and the numbers don't match. That's a no solution. Now we have the other scenario. What if I have this? -1 minus 4x equals -4x minus 1. Again, I'm going to move the variables to one side, so I'm going to undo the minus 4x with a plus 4x. And just like the example up above, minus 4x and plus 4x cancel out. Minus 4x and plus 4x cancel out. And I'm left with -1 equals -1. Well, variable is gone. But what does happen to these numbers? Now the numbers do match. If the numbers do match after the variables are gone, we call it infinite solutions. So we had one solution, that's a normal equation. We've got a no solution, and we've got an infinite solutions. Now, the beauty with a lot of these is you're going to look at it and you're going to know right away what's going to happen because the variables are going to match up on both sides. And all you have to then do is worry about the number. So I want you to pause for a moment and solve this and determine if it's a no solution or if it's an infinite solution. All right, let's see how you did. We're going to go ahead and move the x's to one side. So I'm going to subtract the 3x, subtract the 3x. The 3x's completely cancel out, and I'm left with -5 equals 7. If -5 equals 7, those numbers do not match, and so this is a no solution. So we've got three scenarios. We've got a regular equation where variables don't cancel out, and I just solve for x and I get x alone. And then I have what happens if the variables do cancel out, and then I have to decide what number is remaining. Are they numbers that match, giving me infinite solution, or is it numbers that don't match, giving me no solution? Now, there's going to be one other piece to this that we have to look at, and that's going to be an IXL section. And within that IXL section, it's then going to want to look at how can I manipulate an equation to make it be a no solution or make it be an infinite solution. And so you're going to have to fill in the blank in order for that to happen. So what you're going to be given is you're going to be given something that looks like this. It's going to say 3x plus 11 equals some blank x plus 10. And they're going to want you to plug a number into that blank. Now, depending on the question they ask you, will impact the number that you put there. If they want you to get a no solution, that means you need the variables to match on both sides so they cancel out. Well, if I have a 3x here, what number should I put in this box that will make it so that the variables match on both sides and will therefore cancel out? And if you were thinking 3, you're exactly right. Because now if I subtract 3x to both sides, I'm going to get those to cancel out. But what if it wanted one solution? Remember, a one solution is a normal equation where it does not cancel out. So if I wanted a one solution, and I said, okay, what number would I put in the box now? You could put any number you wanted in that box except for 3. 3 is going to cancel out, but everything else you plugged in there will not cancel out. So say, for example, I put a 5 in there. A 5x on one side and a 3x on the other aren't going to cancel out like they did before. So depending on what they want, that's going to impact what you put in the box. And how about infinite solutions? An example of infinite solutions. Give me a box in front of an x plus 14 equals 14 minus 3x. So remember, infinite solutions, the x's have to match on both sides because that will allow them to cancel out, and the numbers have to match. Well, already you see that the numbers match. So the only thing I have to do now is put a number inside that box that will allow the x's to cancel out. In order for that to happen, it has to be the exact same number. So if I have a negative 3x here, in this box right here, I'm going to put a negative 3. So let's have you go ahead and try 2 yourself. So go ahead and pause it here for a moment. Plug a number into that box that will make sure it ends as infinite solutions, and then plug a number into that box that will ensure it's a no solution. All right, now that we're back and you've done both of those problems, if you understand, it is super simple and easy. In order for this to be an infinite solutions, the number in the box is going to have to match the number in front of this x over here, because that's going to allow them to cancel out. So I have to put a 5 inside that box. For a no solution, I need to first look at the fact that these numbers don't match. So that's good because that's what we want for a no solution. But the x's have to match up on both sides. So if there's a negative 3 in front of the x, I have to make sure that I put a negative 3 inside that box. If you have been doing your job, multi-step equations, you have done probably 50 to 100 various equations over the course of the last couple weeks. Using all of those skills, you're now going to work with no solutions and infinite solutions. Everything keeps building. If you are finding that you are feeling stuck or falling behind in solving equations, I would highly recommend that you go back and watch previous lessons on YouTube about all of the styles of solving equations that we've done. Keeping up with this is important, but then filling in the gaps later as well will help you as we continue to venture into solving equations. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later.